Friday, everybody. I hope your morning is as wonderful as mine. I watched those Dallas Cowboys in Chi-Town last night. I guess some version of the Cowboys showed up. And guess what happened? Sure enough, that all-pro quarterback, that future Hall of Famer, that special dude, you know what? You know his name, Mitchell Trubisky, chewed him up. Everybody want to brag about how the Cowboys are in first place. But they're 6-7 on their second 3-game losing streak of the season. And I must say, since Thanksgiving is over and Christmas is on its way, look what happened. Now, you're Jerry Jones, you're probably feeling miserable right now. Cowboy fans all over the world, you're feeling miserable too. But there's hope. And you know what that hope is? There's a few more games to go. I won't mess with y'all. Instead, I'll just ask you to listen to my music. Take it away.
Mediocre team and Big D. That's what makes this funny. How about the Cowboys? How about the Cowboys? Some way, somehow, when they count, just wait. They will let you down. The accident, they will mess it up. Just wait. The accident, they will let you down. Just wait. The accident, the accident, the accident, waiting to happen. It will happen. I'm predicting they're gonna be irrelevant. I'm predicting an absolute embarrassment for the last decade and a half. They make me laugh. All the talent that they have is unbelievable, man. Big D, teasing you. This is what they do. Walking through weed, show up on cue. Accident, something will go wrong. The accident of the big Jumbotron. Accident, gotta recognize it's a black cat running around that franchise. Say it with accident, they will mess it up. Just wait. The accident, they will let you down. Just wait. The accident. The accident waiting to happen. It will happen. How about the Cowboys?
Well, happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to First Take. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, Marcus Spears is joining us at the top of the show. I'm Rachel Lindsay, filling in for Molly Camrose. Let's get right to it. I'm afraid to get to it as a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Hold on. I need you to pause for a second there, dear. First of all, I'd like to say welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I appreciate the fact that you're filling in for Molly. Welcome to the show. I'm very, very proud of all the things that you have done. I didn't really know you were a Cowboy fan until this morning when you snarled at me a couple of times, but that's all right.
Several times.
That's all right. And I just want to say that it's a very, very special morning when both you and my man Swagoo, better known as Marcus Spears, are both starting off the show on this particular Friday morning. I want to say it's good to see you, buddy. You know, I didn't know if you would show up or not, but I'm thankful. And I'm going to do something that I don't know if any contributor to this show could ever brag about. You are in Atlanta for that SEC championship game tomorrow night, Marcus. And I'm going to fly down to Atlanta tomorrow just to spend some time with you. I just want you to know that. I just want you to know.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much,
I'll say one
man.
thing about the people
on
the show right now, though. Rachel, you're from Dallas.
Right.
You're allowed to be a Cowboys fan. Marcus played for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
He's allowed to be a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
What drives me crazy is I'm running into people, where are you from? The Bronx, loving the Cowboys, upset about last night. That's the problem.
Gotcha.
A national following.
Everywhere. We have fans everywhere.
So what the hell they got to cheer for in New York?
I'm done.
Well,
excuse
What the hell they cheer for in New York? You might as well be a Cowboy fan.
Marcus Spears, Swagoo. Don't change the subject right now. Don't change the subject.
Marcus, just know you have a friend in me.
I tried.
Okay, well, as we know.
Thank you.
As we know, it's a tough morning if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, because last night, in a Thursday night football matchup, we saw the Chicago Bears dominate Big D in a 31-24 victory. With this loss, the Dallas Cowboys have lost their third straight game after starting out this season winning their first 3 games. The Cowboys have since gone 3-7, and after the game, Jerry Jones was asked about the disappointing loss.
Really fine football game tonight, and they took it to us. And in about every way you want to list it, they beat us tonight. I don't care if we stay in contention all the way down to they have the playoffs. We've got to start showing our fans, more importantly, showing ourselves that we can do the things to win the games. And everybody that's in here that's healthy, and everybody that's healthy that's coaching will be coaching, and everybody that's in here that will be playing, and we just got to play better.
Do you think that can contribute to the problem that you guys are having, the public criticism and the uncertainty that there is around the coaching staff now?
The same way that my praise of them is contributing. You may have noticed I've been praising them too. So much for words. Seriously, so much for words.
Your job security has become a massive focal point for this franchise, nationally, locally. Do you think that's a distraction for these players right now?
Yeah, I can't speak to that. The most important thing we have to do is learn from this game and get back to work. And we'll be off this weekend because of the Thursday game, and we'll get back to work on Monday with our players. And our eyes will be forward. And again, learn from the experience and move on. Get ready for the next challenge.
Well, Jason Garrett seems to be hanging on by a thread as the head coach of this team. Now, Stephen A. Smith, I will start with you. It pains me to have this conversation with you just as much as your morning monologue pained me today. But did last night prove that Jones made a mistake by not firing Garrett already?
Well, absolutely, of course it did. I mean, we all recognize the fact that this man needed to be gone. Jerry Jones didn't listen to his old Libra brother here. I tried to tell him on many, many occasions. He didn't listen. I want to give props to Matt Nagy and Mitchell Trubisky because previewing last night's game, Max picked the Cowboys. I picked the Chicago Bears, even though I'm not going to take too much credit because I was thinking about picking those Cowboys. But something said to me, you know something? I think I can serve as a source of inspiration to that old Mitchell Trubisky. What would I do? I would say to him, hey, buddy, I need you to run that damn football. Lamar Jackson's an MVP candidate for a reason. Russell Wilson's an MVP candidate for a reason. Yes, they can throw the football, but the point is they can run the football. They can extend plays. Mitchell Trubisky, coming into last night's game, had not run for more than 18 yards in a game this entire season. He listened to me last night to be exact. He rushed the ball 10 times, 63 yards, had a 23-yard run, a touchdown run. Bottom line is that they listen. They moved the chains. All right, Mitchell Trubisky used his feet to extend plays. After the Dallas Cowboys opened the game on a 17-play, 75-yard drive, they did absolutely, positively nothing until the game had been decided. They had given up 24 unanswered points to the Chicago Bears, and it is what it is. And I would remind you, Mrs. Rachel, I would remind you of this, and I remind you of this swagoo. It ain't just a 3-game losing streak that they're on. It's their second 3-game losing streak of this season. And it's only 13 games in. So within the first 13 games, you had two 3-game losing streaks. This is what we call America's team. I would tell y'all, please, at the end of the day, that damn Jason Garrett needed to be gone. He needs to be gone now. The fact that he hasn't been gone is emblematic of what has ailed the Dallas Cowboys for so many years. Ego, emotion, and personal affections have gotten in the way of good business. And as a result, those Dallas Cowboys are going down. I'm sorry to say.
Real quick, just about your Trubisky point. He was excellent last night.
Yeah.
And by the way, the reason Kaepernick regressed is because the league wasn't ready for that kind of play. They thought, no, dissuade that kind of play. And he started regressing. What the league understands now, since Lamar Jackson's been doing his thing, since Harbaugh's like, let's just build around this. The Bills are doing it with Josh Allen, and they're winning. Hey, this guy can run and throw. Why don't we use that? And by the way, Chicago's doing it with Trubisky, and both the Bills and the Bears are starting to win. Oh, look at that. If a guy can do extra stuff, use it. Here's the issue with the Cowboys, and no, it's not firing Garrett now. It was firing Garrett before the season started. I just want to look at this. From the owner down, the owner's having press conferences every day. You think that's a distraction? It is. That creates a circus. Stephen Jones, basically, you look at the GMing of the team. Everyone's saying, I've been saying 1 through 22, it's the most talented roster, if not the deepest 1 through 53. I have to question that. I know Van Der Esch wasn't there. You can't use that as an excuse. Van Der Esch looked bad at times this year. And Jalen Smith, same thing. They're supposed to be so good. What happened to that second level of the defense? You're talking about the owner, you're talking about the GM. You're talking about the roster, maybe not as good as we thought. Let's talk about the coaching now. Bad play calling, as Warren Sharp Analytics, Stephen A. points out, they're always playing third down. Why do they always have to come through on third down? Why do they face so many third downs? Bad play calling. Penalties, that's coaching. Missed tackles all over the field. Is that just personnel, or is that also coaching? Are these guys playing, The roster's overrated. I have to say it at this point. Based on what you see, the coaching has not been good. At this point, it's regressed. It's been bad. That goes play calling, preparation, game plan, the whole thing. And the owner's also a distraction. So should he have fired Jason Garrett? Yeah, before the season started. But the Cowboys actually have more problems than I thought they had, more problems than just the coach. And at this point, after everything I said, they still might win the division. That's how bad the NFC East is. So you don't fire the coach now.
Marcus, I'm going to need you to get in here. What's your take on this?
First of all, it is disgusting because when I listen to Stephen A. say that about Mitchell Trubisky, that's the same thing we've been saying for weeks. Is like, why won't Dallas give the ball to Zeke? Why won't they follow the money and the way they built this football team just to figure out if they can even win this way? Here's my issue with everything that's going on. And Max keeps saying keep Jason Garrett. For what? There's no incentive to keep him at this point. You already know you're going to fire him. Ain't nobody playing for a playoff spot at this point. I know they lead the division and all of that, but nobody in the Cowboys building thinks that they are going to win the first game in the playoffs. That's number one. Number two is, why are you prolonging the inevitable? Because what you do is you create this environment within that building for every other coach that's looking for a job as well. Here's the thing people forget when they talk about Jason Garrett's job. The fact that your head coach getting fired means there'll be change throughout the staff. It'll be change on the football team. I don't think these players are overrated. They showed us they can be great. The defense is overexposed because you score 7 points and then it takes you 3 quarters to get scoring again. You start looking at the way this team is playing uninspired. You look at their head coach on the sideline. Who knows it's coming to an end? So there is no effective communication coming from him. And then dudes on the bench going crazy. Here's the thing. Being in the locker room for as long as I have, like screaming and hollering don't win games. What wins games is a belief in the guy that's calling the shots, a belief in the guys that's around you, and you go into games knowing that you have a chance to win because you're using your best tool. And the Dallas Cowboys ain't doing that. Yeah, it's great to say Dak throwing for all of these yards and they lead in offense and all of that. That ain't the way they built. We all keep sitting here talking about, oh, the Cowboys should be this and should be that. The Cowboys should be who they were when they were a good football team that's handing the ball off to Zeke Elliott and letting this offensive line move people out the way. And until they get to that, this is the conversation we're going to have. And my frustration lies in this. This has nothing to do with me being a Cowboys fan or a former Cowboy. This is just football 101. Matt Nagy said, my team is not good when I'm not letting Mitchell Trubisky run the football. That's what he said. He owned that at this point, and he looked at it in the game. The Cowboys refused to own it. They refused to say that. They refuse to say we are a better football team when Zeke Elliott is getting the ball. If we know it, you know damn well they know it, but they got the young, hot OC, Kellen Moore. We talking about how much Dak need to get paid because he's an elite quarterback. I think Dak is one of the top-tier quarterbacks still, but when we having a conversation about the Cowboys, and when it comes to football, in the context of them having success, if they not turning around and handing the ball off at least 30 times to the guy that they gave almost $100 million, we are having a mute conversation. We need to go on to something else.
But here's the deal.
The best money
what it really comes down
we've
to
ever
is this.
had.
We got to start asking
With a
ourselves,
different kind of
this
money.
is what I'm paying attention to. Jerry Jones is not as outspoken as he has been about Jason Garrett. If Jason Garrett is the puppet he's been accused of being in the past and is simply doing Jerry Jones' bidding. Jerry Jones, no one can convince me that Jerry Jones paid Ezekiel Elliott $90 million, $50 million guaranteed, and then said, you know what? Even though I want to find out about Dak Prescott, and I'll need him to throw the football to see what he's got. It's not at the expense of them losing games. When you look at Kellen Moore and what he's been doing as an offensive coordinator, when you look at Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper, don't tell me all of that is Jerry Jones, because Jerry Jones wants to win first, especially after he spent his money to do it. Now, if he hadn't spent the money on Ezekiel Elliott, a case could be made that, excuse me, what fingerprints does Jerry Jones have on this season? We know overall throughout the years he's had it, but what fingerprints does he have on it this season? But where I jump off of that and I look directly at Jason Garrett is that he paid Ezekiel Elliott money. Why would you want to pay him and then not give him the money?
You know what's bizarre about that?
That tells me that Jason Garrett doesn't have control because you're the head coach. You're either allowing your offensive coordinator to do what he's been doing, or you have signed off on him doing what he's doing, which is all foolhardy, which is why Jason Garrett has no credibility, because in the end, the players can talk all they want to the media, but they are clearly not looking at him. You saw Jason Witten screaming at people. You saw Jalen Smith going off. You saw him having a tough night, too. You look at that sideline for the Dallas Cowboys. How many Marcus? Tell me I'm wrong about this. Max, have you ever seen a sideline? And we all know everybody's got different positional coaches, stuff like that. You saw how fragmented that sideline was. People having a clique having conversation over here, another clique having conversation over there. All of this stuff going on. All of that. Cliques everywhere. That's what I'm talking about. They are not together. They are fragmented and discombobulated.
Right now, that's why I took you through each level. It is dysfunctional at the moment. Owner, GM, coach, players in every single, including penalties, including missed tackles, including all that stuff. It's dysfunctional right now. And what's bizarre to me about the whole Ezekiel Elliott thing, hold on, Marcus, what's bizarre to me about the Ezekiel Elliott thing is he pays Ezekiel Elliott, right? Well, guess who you're going to have to pay this offseason or you lose Amari or Dak? You're going to have to pay one of them and franchise the other, or else you'd think you're not going to lose the quarterback. Amari Cooper walks, and you traded a first-rounder for him. It doesn't make sense.
But what you just said is my point, right? You looking at an entire team that's fragmented. So back to what we were talking. What's the incentive on keeping Jason Garrett? What is the incentive? Like, I know it first in the division playoff, but it's already done. We're not having a conversation on perception, right? Nobody's sitting here. Why? You said why?
His contract's up at the end of the year. You believe, who are you going to promote to make interim head coach? And what
anybody but him.
But what difference is it going to make?
Max, it doesn't matter what it says to the guys that's going to be on this roster. We all know players are going to outlast coaches majority of the time. What it says to those guys is, I'm going to make a decision now to put you in the best possible situation for next year. That's what we're talking about. Like, we keep having this conversation about first in the division and playoffs. Man, we can get off that. We talking about next year for the Dallas Cowboys.
It's a good point because
based on the way they've been playing and what they've been showing.
It's a good point in the sense that Jerry Jones has made it pretty clear that he's a lame duck coach. So now all the players are playing for a lame duck coach. Yes. And by the way, they're playing like they're playing for a lame duck coach.
But I said this. I've been saying it for the past 2 weeks. I said he should have been fired before the Thanksgiving Day game. He definitely should have been fired immediately afterwards when they got walloped by the Buffalo Bills. And now here we are over the last 2 weeks. Jason Garrett has been more of a focal point than at any other time in his career with the Dallas Cowboys. And how have the Dallas Cowboys run? They've been angry. They've been talking in the locker room. We're angry with ourselves. We're going off on each other. We're holding each other accountable until game time, and then they come out and play like trash. They have not responded to Jason Garrett at all. Anything is an upward move.
But why do we know that he's a lame duck coach? Because the owner's holding press conferences all the time.
What I'm saying to you is that the owner shouldn't hold the press conference.
Right.
The press conference that the owner should be holding is that we have relieved Jason Garrett of his duties.
He's going to do the same thing to the next coach.
But wait a minute, though. But the point is, for this season, you're sending the message, we're not giving up on this season. And clearly what we have right now isn't working. I can't get rid of the players at this point. I got other coaches. I got 2 positional coaches on the defensive side of the ball. Anybody but Jason Garrett.
Was there anyone in the world, except for maybe Damian Woody, who thought that it was going to work with this coach to the tune of the Super Bowl?
Let's not forget Will
No.
Let's not forget Will Kane.
We've argued with Will here. Everyone recognized the weakness on the roster was the head coach. When he decided to keep Jason Garrett for the last year of his contract, he already made his bed. Now you know what you do? You lie in it. You made your bed, you lied.
No. But that, to me, that's an utterly ridiculous statement because you still are in first place. You have 3 games left. You get rid of him. You keep everybody else in tow. You sent the message, this dude is gone, and everybody else, you playing for your job too. You don't give up on this shit.
They ain't doing nothing this way, one way or another.
To the point we went through a couple weeks ago or last week. This is on Jerry Jones. We keep having a conversation about Jason Garrett like Jason Garrett has changed his stripes. This is who Jason Garrett has been. This is on Jerry Jones, and Jerry has to make a decision. Does he want to try to patch the bleeding up now to give Dallas Cowboy fans and everybody else the notion that we are going to make a change and we're going to try to put this team in the best possible situation going forward with all of this money that I've invested into this roster and putting guys in position to be successful, or are we just going to sit here and let us continue to look at a dead man walking? Because the inevitable is coming. We've all agreed to that. So at this point, it's about going forward and looking into the future, and you deal with Dak and Amari contract. But at this point, man, we've been laboring the point talking about first and the playoffs and the Super Bowl. Cowboys ain't going to win nothing, man.
No matter what they do.
I agree with you on that, Marcus. We got to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we're not done talking Cowboys. We got much more to debate.
My buddy looking so sad. My buddy looking so sad.
I feel you.
I'm so sad.
I feel you, Marcus.
I'm so sad.
We're going to talk about the Cowboys much more coming up next.
Marcus,
we're going to debate which superstar quarterback needs to play better for his team to win. Showtime Mahomes or Tom Terrific? Plus, we will ask and answer the question, how much was Dak to blame for last night's loss? Or was there a bigger reason for the Cowboys' disappointing performance? We'll debate it coming up next.